All right, Algebra 2, our lesson today is 1.2, real number operations. So first up, we see on our notes that we have the basic arithmetic operations, and we want to look at the vocabulary of these. So let me help you with the first one. When we have addition, we have the addend, okay, plus another addend, and that equals the, yes, the sum. Very nice. Okay. That's a lot like multiplication, okay, because multiplication is just repeated addition, and except being called, our terms are different. So we're going to have a factor times a factor equals the product. Okay. Subtraction and division are a little bit different, okay? Each of their terms is different. All right, so for subtraction, we have the minuend minus the subtrahend equals the difference. I'm sure difference is the one that you're the most familiar with, but that first one is the minuend, and we're taking the subtrahend, subtraction, away. Division, it starts with the dividend. Okay, so the dividend divided by the divisor. Oh, sorry. My spelling there. So the dividend divided by the divisor equals the quotient. Excellent. And the last one is exponentiation. So when we have exponents, we're going to break that down into we have a base and the exponent is the number up top. Okay, so it's raised to that power. All right, so those are our basic language or terminology of the basic arithmetic operations. Okay, so then we have this definition, absolute value, should be underlined. Since it's not, please go ahead and do that. We've got our notation here, right? So it's two vertical bars around x in this case. It could be at any number. So absolute value is a number's distance. So I'm going to use the number sign or the hashtag you might say, but it's going to be numbers in our class. A number's distance from 0 is absolute value. All right, and you should know that it's always, always positive or 0, right? The absolute value of 0 is 0. So it could be always positive or 0. All right, then we're going to look at some integer operations here. Okay, notice in our chart we have addition, multiplication on the left, and if they're the same sign or different signs, what we do. So if we have addition and we have the same signs, we're just going to add the absolute values of the addends and give the sign of the addends. So that might be if we have 3 plus 6, then our answer is just going to be 9. Just add their absolute values and they are positive. If it's negative 3 plus negative 6, their absolute values are 3 and 6, so it's still 9, and we give them the negative sign. For addition of different signs, we're going to subtract the smaller absolute value from the larger one, and then give the sign of the larger absolute value. All right, so if we had 3 plus negative 6, okay, we're going to subtract their absolute value. So we do 6 minus 3 is 3, and the answer is going to be negative because this is the larger absolute value. Okay, if we had negative 3 plus 6, okay, same thing. We're going to do 6 minus 3. It's still just, or 6, yeah, because we're finding the difference. Subtract them. 6 minus 3 is still 3. This time 6 is positive, so it's a positive 3 in this case. All right, in multiplication, the product is always positive if they have the same sign. So if we have 2 times 5, that's 10. If we have negative 2 times negative 5, it's still 10. So a negative times a negative is a positive, I like to say. And if we're multiplying them, they have different signs. So if we have negative 2 times 5, it's negative 10. And if we have 2 times negative 5, it's still negative 10. Okay, so let's look at example 1 and actually do some of these. How about A there? 5 times negative 6, So we have a positive times a negative, so it's going to be a negative. 5 times 6 is 30. We'll circle the answers there. All right, B, pardon me, negative 2.4 plus 10.1. So we have different signs. So we're going to subtract we're going to find their difference. So that's 7.7 is the difference. And 10.1 has the larger absolute value, so it's going to stay positive. So the answer is 7.7. C, 34 minus a negative 5. Well, minus means to take the opposite. All right, so 34, we can use the opposite of this. So instead of minus a negative, we could do plus a positive 5 is 39. All right, D and E, we're getting into a little bit of fraction work here. So hopefully you remember how to use fractions. D, we're dividing, so we need to multiply by the reciprocal. So negative 2/3 times negative 4/5. All right, well, we have a negative times a negative. That's the same sign. We're multiplying, so it's going to be positive. So we just do 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 5 is 15. So 8, hold on. I didn't flip the reciprocal. Goodness gracious. All right, so let's go back to that. The reciprocal would be negative 5/4. There we go. All right, so 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, and we can reduce that very easily because they're both even numbers. So what's that reduced? Good. 5/6. Very nice. Okay, so E, we have several fractions here. Okay, and we're subtracting and adding. So in that case, we have to have common denominators. So we'll make our common denominator 12. So I'm going to multiply 1/3 by 4/4. So that's going to be negative 4/12 minus 3/4. We can multiply by 3/3. So that's going to be minus 9/12 plus, and the 3 we need to multiply by 12 because this is 3/1. So we're going to multiply by 12/12. So that's going to give us 36/12. All right, I'm going to go sideways. Well, I can squeeze it down a little bit. So negative 4/12 minus 9/12. I'm going to change this to plus a negative. Make that a little bit easier. So we have the same, we can see they have the same sign. And that's going to be negative 13/12 plus 36/12. Well, now we have two different signs. We have a negative and a positive. So we're going to find their difference. That's 23/12. And the 36 is the bigger number. So that's our answer. Although this is an improper fraction, so who can reduce that to a mixed number? Very nice. It is 1 11/12. Either of those is good. Awesome. Very good work. Moving right along, order of operations. Okay, first up, are there grouping symbols? Right, we have to perform operations within, the W/N is within the innermost parentheses, brackets, or braces. Any of those count. Exponents come next. We're going to simplify exponential expressions. Multiplication and division are equal, so we're always going to perform those from left to right in any order, just however they show up from left to right. And then addition and subtraction. We're also going to perform in any order from left to right. Okay, so we could do subtraction, addition, addition, subtraction again, if that's how it shows up. So, example 2, let's give these some practice. We have 2 plus 4 times 3. What do we need to do first? Very nice, multiplication. So we have 2 plus 12. Now we can do our addition. 2 plus 12 is 14. All right, so notice how we're showing work as we're working through these. These are the notes that you should be taking since I'm giving you the other stuff. All right, B, we have exponents. We have 1 minus 3 inside of our parentheses. We have an exponent there. We have 4 minus 3 inside of our exponent, or inside our parentheses. So we've got to do those first. Okay, so I can actually, because we can look at these as different terms, I can go ahead and do this term as well, and all in the same step, and show that work because it doesn't affect the other terms and their order of operations. All right, so this is negative 2 squared, but notice only the 2, since there's not parentheses, the 2 is the only thing that's getting squared. So the negative stays, and the 2 squared is 4. So plus 1 minus 3 is negative 2 to the 4th power, minus 2 times 4 minus 3 is 1. Now this exponent is different. Okay, it is a negative 2, that quantity raised to the power of 4. So that's going to be negative 2 times negative 2, which is a positive 4. So positive 4 times negative 2 is a negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 2, well, that's a negative times a negative. So it's now a positive. So it's going to be a positive 16. All right, so we are at, I forgot to bring this down, negative 4 plus 16 minus 2 times 1 is 2. So then here we go, addition and subtraction from left to right. I'm going to say negative 4 plus 16 is 12. 12 minus 2 is 10. So again, notice in showing our work, right? We can combine all these together. You don't have to show me every single thought that you have, but I do need to be able to track your thinking and how you're getting there. Okay, C, 3 minus the absolute value of the quantity 2 minus 8. So we're going to do our absolute value first. So we have 3 minus the absolute value of 2 minus 8 is negative 6. So now I have 3 minus the absolute value of negative 6 is 6. 3 minus 6 is negative 3. Okay, very good. Hopefully that you guys are keeping up there. You can always pause in class to get it down or try to solve it yourself before I do. Okay, next up, we're going to look at algebraic expressions. It's a constant, a variable, or a combination of those, so constant and variables, or symbols and operations, and signs that represent a number. So operation signs. So it's all those things, constant, a variable, symbols, operation, any of those things that represent a number. The terms are separated by a plus or a minus sign. This is a big one, okay? That's the only way we get a term, is if it has separated by a plus or a minus sign. Okay, the next one is the division bar also creates groups. So we've got a division bar over here we're going to look at. So let's look at these 3 examples and figure out how many terms are in each of them. So in this first one, we have 3x minus 5y minus 21. There are 3 terms here because they're separated by a subtraction sign, right? That's what we're looking for. 3 and x are being multiplied, but that counts as 1 term. Okay, the next one, 3x minus the quantity 5y plus 21. This one, 3x is a term. Then we have this subtraction sign. 5y plus 21 is a term because it has parentheses around it. So this one only has 2 terms. All right, the next one, 3x minus 5y divided by 2 plus 21. So the division bar here creates groups. It has grouped all of this together as 1 term. So this has 2 terms. Okay, because the division bar has created a group, a very large group. Okay, so let's look at example 3 and identify the number of terms in each. So A has 2x. There's no plus sign, no minus sign, so there's just 1 term here. B, x plus 4y. There's a plus sign. There's no grouping symbols, so we have an x and a 4y, so we have 2 terms. C, we have a plus sign here, and we have a plus sign here, but it's inside parentheses. So all of this, 5 times the quantity 3x plus 7, is all 1 term. So C has 2 terms again. And D looks like a lot, but let's check it out. So we have the quantity a plus 7 divided by 3. That's 1 term. Minus 2 cubed. That's 1 term because we have the plus sign coming next. So 3/4 times the quantity b minus 4. That's all 1 term. So we